If you ever want to see trouble wearing perfume and smiling, just take a look at Aisha, a beautiful fair-skinned lady from a Muslim background. She was calm that no one thought she could ever hurt an ant. She was 24 years old and a final year student at Bayero University, Kano. She was the kind of girl that made brothers and imams start quoting different verses of the Quran out of context. Her father, Malan Yusuf, was a well-principled man. He prayed 5 times a day, and he always wore a starched white kaftan that could cut your skin if you brushed against it. And he believed that any girl who smiles too much was already halfway to hellfire. Her mother, Hawa, was the opposite. She was a soft-spoken woman, very patient. She was the kind of woman who believes that love could fix anything, clearly. But what she did not know was that she had not met the love from the south. And now, that is where Samuel entered the story. Samuel was a tall, dark guy, and he was also a conventional Christian. He worked as an IT technician at a small company close to the school. He speaks so softly and with so much confidence that can make you believe that he cannot just fix just your computer, but also he can fix your broken life. Aisha met him one sunny Tuesday. That day, even the sun was gossiping. She had gone to the cafe near the campus to print her project, and the printer, as usual, decided to behave like a stubborn goat. Samuel, who was fixing the cafe network, smiled and said, "Come, let me check it out for you." And from there, one check leads to another. Before anyone could say, Subhanallahi, they were already talking, and Aisha was smiling like a goat who saw fresh yam to eat. And the conversation did not end there. They both exchanged contact, and from there, they will always be on the phone at night, talking about everything, including school, work, music, and so on. Aisha started developing feeling for Samuel. We know love does not need visa permission before it gains access to one's heart. It crosses borders, and in their case, it crosses religion, tribe, and sense. And soon, Aisha found reasons to visit Samuel often. She would tell her roommate that she was going to print her project. And by the third month, Samuel already knew how she liked her shawarma to be prepared, with extra spices and without onions. Aisha too knew that Samuel hated okra so much, but he pretended to like it because she cooked it with so much excitement. They were perfect in that foolish, sweet way where people are when they think that the world only revolves around the two of them. Aisha knew. Aisha knew that crossing or having anything to do with the other religion was a taboo in Islam. She knew that her head can be cut off at any time. But at this stage, she did not mind anything anymore. The world was watching, as they always do. People started whispering that Aisha was going out with a Christian boy, and soon the whisper grew wings. Mama Rasheedat, the town crier, started spreading the news as if she worked with Wazobia FM. If gossip were sport activities in Kano, then Mama Rashida would have been the next compound who would win the world champion. She was the one who first carried the news like fresh tomatoes to Aisha's parents. By the time Hawa, her mother, came home the next day, 3 women had innocently stopped by to greet her and ask after Aisha. Kano women can greet you to death when they smell small scandal. And when Malan Yusuf returned from the mosque that night, Hawa, his wife, told him everything she had heard. Her voice was already shaking and trembling because she knew what the outcome would be. By the time she has finished talking, her husband's face has changed from a calm brown to a dangerous red. Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un. My daughter, following a Christian boy. Who is that boy? I will skin him alive. Before the cock could crow, there was a family meeting that was called, and her aunties and uncles showed up. They called Aisha and asked her to sit. Aisha sat at the middle while they spoke over her head. Her father was very mad that he couldn't imagine that his daughter could disgrace him to that extent. He shouted in rage. Her uncles quoted different hadiths that stood against it. Of all the good Muslim people, so you did not see anyone, you are going for a Christian guy, Abi. her auntie hissed without hesitation. If you are still hearing my voice to this point, please don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel to help support my growth. Aisha did not flinch a bit. Mama, she said quietly, but I love him. Everyone was shocked that you could hear a pin drop if pins dares to drop in that kind of tension. Mala Yusuf shouted till his voice cracked. Hawa begged and relatives were surprised that she dares to speak when her father was speaking. But love had already taken the root in Aisha's stubborn heart, and no amount of scolding could uproot it. And when shouting could not work out, the family brought in their Arabic teacher, Malam Musa, their family Malam that offered prayers for them. We will take her to the Islamia school and we will ensure that she stayed there until she remembered that she is a Muslim, Malam Musa said. And the next morning, Aisha was taken to the compound behind the mosque. They said that it was for her reflection, but in this case, the reflection meant lock up, and immediately her phone was seized from her hand. She was locked up in a room where she shared with 3 other girls who were also labeled as wayward, and they were forced to pray, to recite the Quran, and to listen to endless lectures that were about obedience and modesty in Islam. Every evening, Mala Musa would come to advise them with a long koboko in his hand. But the more they tried to break Aisha, the calmer she looked. She hummed softly to herself, and sometimes she would whisper Samuel's name in the midst of the prayer. After 3 long months, they said that she was cleansed, but what they did not know is that her heart was locked. The stubbornness was still there, only that she was quieter this time around, like embers month awaiting for the Hamatan bin. Back in Kano, when the family thought the storm had passed, the wind was just changing direction. One evening, 3 young men, they were very angry at what Samuel had done to their sister when they heard the news, and they convinced that they were going to defend their faith, that no Christian guy is allowed to even touch or sleep with their woman. So, they decided to teach Samuel a lesson. They planned to invade his room and kill him silently that night. But, as fate will always have it, Samuel's neighbor overheard their whisper earlier that day, and out of fear, he rushed to Samuel's room and whispered, "Guy, leave now. They are coming after your life tonight, so you better run." Samuel did not hesitate or bother to ask questions. He immediately grabbed his small bag, his phone, and left that night. Before morning, he was already heading to the east, leaving his other belongings in the house. As early as 5 a.m., the 3 boys arrived the compound with cutlasses in their hand. They pushed the door to open, and they discovered that nobody was inside. They searched everywhere in the compound, but they couldn't find him, and they left in furious. They spat on the floor and said, "He can run, but he cannot run away from God. We will find him, and we will definitely kill him." When Malam Musa, Aisha's father, heard that Samuel had escaped, he was humiliated. His humiliation burned hotter than his anger. He stormed Aisha's room that night. She was sitting by the side of her window, and her eyes were far away, deep in thought. "Get up and come here," her father shouted. She stood in confusion. "Baba," a slap landed on her face before she could even finish pronouncing the word Baba. Hawa shouted, "Yusuf, did you want to kill my daughter for me?" Before she could even say anything further, the man pushed her. "You brought shame upon me, upon this house, upon Islam. You told that guy somewhere to escape, right?" "Baba, I'm already pregnant for him," Aisha said, lowering her head. And that was when he discovered that Aisha had been 3 months pregnant with Samuel. Aisha did not even cry at the slap. She just stared at the father, and with that quiet defense, it cut him more deeper than any insult. That night, he called Malam Musa to take her back to the house, and they took her back to the Islamia school, not for teaching this time around, but for punishment. She was locked in a small room with one mat and a Quran. She was shut from the outside world, and they could call it purification. Days became weeks, and weeks became months. Prayers became noise to her. The world narrowed to 4 words and regret she refused to feel. Her mother Hawa came secretly one afternoon, with tears flowing from her cheeks. My daughter, please, just say you are sorry. Just beg your father for forgiveness. Please. Beg who? Aisha looked at her mother gently. Sorry. Beg for what, Mama? For feelings they said I shouldn't have. Her mother Hawa had no answer to her questions. After 2 months, they finally released her. She did not cry or speak so much to people, but she just moved through the house like a ghost that knew she no longer belonged there. Someone never came back because he knew what that means. He sent several messages to her, but those messages were never delivered. Her phone had long been taken away from her, and her SIM card had been changed completely. Life in Benlo's house was never the same again. They became the topic of the town. In the mosque, their father couldn't even enter the mosque or to the place of his business again. Her mother Hawa became permanently indoor, and her fellow women insulted her of not being able to train her children. And with the help of Mama Rashida, the news quickly spread. Many people they associated themselves from her and their children from the family. Aisha would have been killed, but the only thing that saved her was that she was from a rich home, so the Hizbah couldn't do anything to her. She was later taken out of the country, where she would give birth and stay away from the family. Aisha stayed in a new country quietly, far from the noise of Kano, far from the whisper that had tied her down. Months passed, and she finally gave birth to a baby boy that looks like Samuel, but with a calm smile. The nurses said that she held the child like someone who had carried love and war at the same time. Back home, the people soon forget. They move on, and no one dares to ask questions about her again. Her father walked to the mosque freely again, although people still stared at him like a man carrying so much wound that refuses to heal. Her mother, Hawa, however, prayed for her every night with her forehead pressed on the mat, whispering her daughter's name as though it were a adua that might one day be answered. Samuel never returned to Kano. Sometimes he would open the old messages he sent to Aisha, those ones that never delivered, and stare at them like a man waiting for a door that might someday open. And Aisha, she wasn't sure of anything anymore. She wasn't sure of what life has for her next. Some nights, she would sit by her small apartment window, carrying her baby asleep on her chest, and wonder if the road behind her was truly closed, or if life would one day drag her back to her face, or if life would one day drag her back to face everything she had run away from. Maybe she will reconnect with Samuel again. Maybe she will raise her child alone. Maybe her family will soften on her end again. Or maybe she would never change again. No one knew. At the end of it all, Aisha's stories whispered a truth many people pretend not to hear. When love crosses the lines society draws, it is not the lovers who breaks, it is the lines. Some communities punish what they do not want to discuss. The greatest tragedy is not mistake someone make, but the silence they were forced to live in afterward. Aisha's story reminds us that every heart deserves a room to break, and every child, boy or girl, deserves a future to shape by other people's fear. Because in the end, love may be stubborn, but the freedom is real. Thank you so much for watching my story to the end. If you are still hearing my voice to this moment, I want to say thank you so much for listening to my story. I do not take your support for granted. And if you are yet to subscribe to this channel, kindly do so by clicking the subscribe button. And don't forget to also click the notification button so that you will be notified when we drop our next story. See you in my next story. Bye.